to our followers out there. We incline to believe that you are okay. So this is our episode 10 in podcast talk show. As we update you earlier that we gonna have a breathly meeting or a podcast talk show with Nzima's family, one of the iconic photographer during 1976. For sure, we all know the story and the impact that he have made. And for you to remember this, that our mission is to always celebrate the impact that both the elders and the young people have made, or they are still making in our generation. So we are so glad that today finally we have come to meet Nzima's family. We know that you'll be waiting for this episode to be released, for you to learn from it and for you to get more information, as much as today we have met the family. So greetings, family. We are so glad that we have met you today. And it's such a privilege, most especially that even Mom Nzima is here today. Surely along the podcast, when it proceeds, she might join us just to share a few words to us. So welcome to Podcast Talk Show. I am staying small, as I've introduced to you. So this is the day that we have saw it possible for us to come and kind of celebrate and acquire more of the knowledge, more especially that your father have made in history. And I believe if he was not an iconic photographer, we shouldn't be knowing about what have happened in 16 June. If he couldn't take that risk, if he was not brave, I'd like 16 June. So he have played a very huge role. That's why it's bonus finally local today. As it's 16 June, let us come and celebrate with the family, also to ask several questions based on him or the legacy angabasela yo. So what I would love us to do now, if I'm taking Carlo the introducer, as you can see, like now those who are sitting here are his two daughters. So you're gonna introduce yourself to the followers. If it's possible, you can even share to them your biography. And then after that, we're going to pose questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sting. Good evening to yourself and to the viewers there. Thank you so much for having us here. Mm-hmm. It's a privilege to be given an opportunity at any chance to speak about our father and uphold his legacy, so that his name is not forgotten. Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll pass it to the big sis.
Yes. Good morning and good evening, and to all the listeners as well. Thank you so much that you still remember such an important day, that our days we have really put an impact to the South Africans. We're really glad to share everything about our dad. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. As much as I've heard that they are really glad to share the impact that their dad have made. And remember, there is no hero without him being started in a zero level. So I believe that there are much that he encountered in him now. We know that is a hero. When we say there is Nzima, like we know that we are speaking with about a great man. And the reason for us to be here today, there is a young generation that is still growing. Yet they hear about him, but they don't know about him or much that he have done. Yet when you go through the research, social media, you get to find the impact that they have made. I was passing by this other day. I was at work, just to briefly share to you this story. And we're with the guest from Singita. We're showing them the entrepreneurs that we have in our program. And we even waited here at the gate and we explained the story of Nzima. They were very much interested, and yet it was not the first time they heard about him from me. So that really shows that even white people, black people, they still celebrate this hero we are speaking about and what have made us together here today. So when we say we are speaking about Nzima, who is Nzima?
So Nzima was a young man. In his teens, he went to work at the Kruger National Park during his school holidays. And with that salary that he earned, he bought a brownie box camera. That's what it was called at the time. It would take pictures. One would have to stand still and then it takes a picture of you slowly. And the development of pictures at the time was different from what we mostly grew up seeing as cameras. He was inspired by a teacher that he had at his school that also took pictures. So he eventually began it as a hobby, where at the Kruger National Park, where at Skukuza, where he worked as a gardener, he would take pictures of the tourists that are coming and anybody else who was known as that camera boy. That's where the love began. It was a passion. It wasn't something that he learned just when he went to Johannesburg. Neither did he get formal training for photography. And that passion took him far. But to cut a long story short, from there, he met a lady who was a tourist at the Kruger National Park, who just loved his aura. He was very charismatic, and she thought, Sam, one day when you come to Johannesburg, can you please contact me? This is my address. So fast forward, Sam lived in this area of Maparule. He was born here. And at that time, there was that Land Act whereby if you lived here, the apartheid government, then you'd be forced as a child in that family or one of the family members, you'd have to go work at one of the farmland owners of this place. So unfortunately, he had to miss out on his education at the age of about 16 or so, taken out of school. And he had to go work in what we know today as Matafin. It was Hall and Sons. Thank you, sister. There, where he was an orange picker. And because he was an inquisitive, intelligent boy, he then became promoted to being a clerk there. He would have to count the number of oranges that have been picked and put in the boxes. So he became frustrated by that system. He was curious. He wanted to go back to school, and he thought, if this is the end of my life, I must do something. So one day, Sam decided, you know what, I'm going to risk it. If I don't do it now, it's going to be the end. Now or never. Now or never. Now or never, like Sis is saying. So he decided to take a risk and get on a train that's going to Johannesburg. Johannesburg, where he's never been before, just having a few relatives there. Arrived in Johannesburg, and he decided to contact that lady that I mentioned earlier, who was a tourist at the Kruger National Park in Pretoria, Scope to be specific. And he managed to work for that lady for some time. Sam, being a curious mind, he decided, this is not the end of my life. I can't just be a garden boy, but thank you very much for the opportunity. He then got another opportunity at, it was then Chelsea Hotel in Hillbrow, where he worked as a waiter. And him being brilliant, he then shortly became promoted to being a switchboard operator. Yes. So while he was a switchboard operator in his free time, he continued with the love of taking pictures and now writing stories. Yes. You may have asked yourself as to, did he get even a formal journalism training? Because remember, this young boy did not actually get formal high school education since his primary. But he knew he has to develop himself. He loved education, and he thought there's so much more in the city of Johannesburg. So he did evening classes for accounting and for English writing. So his writing skills or journalistic skills are not formal qualifications like most journalists would have. It's driven by passion. It's self-taught, and passion takes you far. Yes, where there's a will, there's that way. Yes. He then started freelancing for what was known then as the World newspaper. It's now today called the Sowetan. And as he was freelancing, taking pictures in his free time, then the editor then asked him if does he want this opportunity to take up this job full time. And he was pleased. He was thrilled. He did not think twice about it. He went into it. Perhaps he would like to add on more from there.
Yeah. Okay. Just now to add, to take them a little bit backwards. As my younger sister have mentioned, Sam, he was born in this place where we are at Mabaru. Just a little bit further backwards behind Mabaru. He was a boy that grew up here in this dusty place, which they had no life or that shows that will be tomorrow. And his first school, he just went to Madale in Chastisha. So that's where he started his school and be educated. And he got a very good guy called Mr. Matsana. He used to stay in Somerset in those days. And he was one brilliant guy that really seen the gift that our dad had. That he even had a love school and a passion of everything that he was doing. So it's one of the young few boys that truly know what they want in life. He have seen something that is in my dad's, and his passion that is going far. And dad never lost any opportunity in his life. As my young sister is explaining that he moved and worked in Kranisha back when he was young in those days, when he met this lady. It was a very interesting story, my sister. This lady just wrote an address in a piece of paper. My dad hold on that piece of paper for a year full. It was not something that happened over a night. It's not something that happened over just 6 months or something. But he worked on this thing that one day I knew I'm going to be in Johannesburg. And indeed, when he went to start working in Hall & Sons, there, as he was so passionate in his work and he was forward, and he knew, if I don't do something and push myself, from where he's coming from, this dusty place, there is no way he can grow. And he makes sure that he's going to go and convince the bosses that he is more educated than anybody else, because he knew when he's forward, he can get opportunities. So in those days, they had containers. You see the train containers that they have. Then he went there and says, you know what? I can prove to you that I can pack all the boxes just to be exact in this container. They didn't trust him, but he wanted to show them. A boy from a dusty place, he took his paper and a pen, he drafted down for them, he did his calculation for maths, left times breadth times height, and he calculated exactly the boxes. They put them in the container. They were exactly fitting in the container. That's how that guy, my dad, called them, have made it in that place. But one thing that he knew, he was not going to allow himself to go back in the streets of this place, because once he come back here, they have to take him back to go and work for Hall & Sons, just to pick up oranges and nothing, no other profession he was going to have. That's when then he decided, no, now or no never, I am going to Johannesburg. And it was a nice, interesting story. It is nice for people to understand this thing. Because we are passionate for them to understand that where there's a will, there's a way. And if there is something that you set up in your mind, it's possible to do it. It's not money only that makes people to be successful in life, but passion can take you far. And ways God always opened them for them. So what happened to him? He just said to myself, the little money that I have, I will make sure I'm going to go to Johannesburg. And then remember that I've got that address. And he didn't know anyone where he's supposed to go. But he said, I will see it when he gets to Johannesburg. So when he was in the train, he just bought that ticket and he knew they will go and check inside the train. And he hid himself in the toilet. As soon as he gets into the train, and he knew that the guard is about to come and check the tickets and whatever, and check those who are running away, because he knew that there are people that are running away. So he hid himself in the toilet and sat there until the train arrived in Johannesburg. So the rest became history thereafter. As my university is explaining, he started working at Chelsea Hotel, and he was used to take pictures. And they used to have a day that called it Sheila's Day. Yes. So that Sheila's Day, it was on Thursdays where women, when they are working, they will knock off early. They have like a free time from the bosses in the days. And my dad will go to those white places, or so-called estates, or no, those days they didn't even have estates, but they'll go to those towns, suburbs. I would say that's the right word, in the suburbs. And you will take pictures. In the olden days, you'll take pictures and make them pay money, and you go and you watch your film and you bring it back the next following week, because they have to be developed and stuff like that. That's where he developed the passion of photojournalism, as my sister explain, no training whatsoever. This is one of the things that youth they need to understand. It is not only education that can take you this far, but passion of anything you want to do, like will get you far. Education adds in what you already in. God instilled in you.
That's
You
right.
see? So education helps a lot to open the doors for you, because you would know what you're supposed to do, when and how. So that is what helps them, because with that basic education that he had, he could read, write, and understand English. And he was a smart boy from a rural area. And he made sure that opportunity would work for him. And make sure that when he was in a Chelsea hotel, and he got the opportunity to go and work for Pesi Probosa. He's the one that gave him an opportunity to go and work as a journalist. And but at that time he was not a writer, he was a what do you call it? A photographer. So he was not writing, but in those columns they used to have certain columns that they have in a week, where they're supposed to write something. He made sure that he wrote a very interesting story about Mr. Nyalungu, Stick Nyalungu. In those days, Stick Nyalungu is not staying from far from our village. He was here in Ellis Court, which is known as Meti. Then he wrote a story about Stick Nyalungu, who was owning buses. A black guy who's coming from the dusty place, who's taking from nothing. And he wrote a very interesting story about it. And that's where they really seen the gift that this guy have. And they were even surprised with themselves, because this guy had never been trained. As a photographer, never been trained. Writing this interesting story on that blog, it was a very beautiful story that you wrote. So I think, sis, you can even take it forward. I just wanted to fill up the gaps in between, and not just even to encourage youth, as this is a youth month, that they must understand it is not only about them being smart and doing wrong things, but it's the combination of your gift, your passion, you take it seriously, and you take your education very seriously, it will take you far. This combination, it will take you far. And whenever there's a window opportunity, make use of it. God instilled in you. You see? So education helps a lot to open the doors for you, because you would know what you're supposed to do, when and how. So that is what helps them, because with that basic education that he had, he could read, write, and understand English. And he was a smart boy from a rural area. And he made sure that opportunity would work for him. And make sure that when he was in a Chelsea hotel, and he got the opportunity to go and work for Pesi Probosa. He's the one that gave him an opportunity to go and work as a journalist. And but at that time he was not a writer, he was a what do you call it? A photographer. So he was not writing. But in those columns, they used to have certain columns that they have in a week, where they're supposed to write something. He made sure that he wrote a very interesting story about Mr. Nyalungu, Stick Nyalungu. In those days, Stick Nyalungu is not staying from far from our village. He was here in Ellis Court, which is known as Meti. Then he wrote a story about Stick Nyalungu, who was owning buses. A black guy who's coming from the dusty place, who's taking from nothing. And he wrote a very interesting story about it. And that's where they really seen the gift that this guy have. And they were even surprised with themselves, because this guy, he never been trained. As a photographer, never been trained. Writing this interesting story on that blog, it was a very beautiful story that he wrote. So I think, since you can even take it forward, I just wanted to fill up the gaps in between, and then not just even to encourage youth, as this is a youth month, that they must understand it is not only about them being smart and doing wrong things, but it's the combination of your gift, your passion, you take it seriously, and you take your education very seriously, it will take you far. This combination, it will take you far. And whenever there's a window opportunity, make use of it. Don't waste time. If the opportunity presents itself, make it work for you.
Wow. No, that's very incredible. That's very incredible. I think there are a few things that I have caught from both your presentation or the storytelling about your dad. But the first thing that I want to know, based on what you have shared to us, what you've shared to us, is it written in books or can you find it in social media, or is the only information that you may have because you are Nzima's daughters?
Absolutely.
Most of it, it's most of what we've told you now. It's written on your Google information, on YouTube, but there are some stories that are not necessarily there that he would tell us when we're sitting as a family.
Even his interviews
over the years, we've had to follow them. So it's been what we've listened to for most of Youth Days, June16, for many years.
Okay.
Yes.
And as much as you are speaking it yourself, you know, I'm not saying it's not real when you read it from social media, but now it's becoming more even real, like, you know. Yeah, so I believe that, guys, through what they are sharing to us, you can be empowered today and start something today, and tomorrow it can take you somewhere. Like they have explained that passion, it can driven your future to be better tomorrow, like it can bring light. They explain about Nzima, him being an orange picker. Imagine, but now he's a hero, somebody that we are proud of him. Everybody, like when we pass by, they wanna come to his home, they wanna see his family, but he started from being an orange picker. So despite of what you are having, you are doing today, don't let your passion die, because it's what it's carrying, like the keys to open doors in your future. So you mentioned something here that this first salary, he used it to buy the camera. What is it that you can advise to youth? Because in most cases you find the youth, like even if they go to work, some they're not working, but the little money that they have, instead of investing it in assets that can maybe make them to have business in the future, they spend it carelessly. Like they not invested in their future, they go and drink, they go to clubs, they do things that doesn't even like promote their lives or even their health. So, but from what you have said, his first salary, he have took it to buy a photographer, and through that photographer today we know that Nzima once existed. He took us a very beautiful picture of Hector Pieterson in 1976. So what is it that you can advise to youth with the little money that you are having? Because you find somebody saying, I'm just earning 5,000, I will start to do better things when I earn 10,000. It doesn't work like that. So what is it that you can advise to youth with the little money that they have?
No, it's important to be responsible with your salary from the very beginning stages. It may look like you'd rather use it for your own pleasure while you're still little, and then later on, when you start using it for a lot. But there's a proverb that says, if you can be trusted with little, you can be trusted with much. It's a training that's happening in progress. Number one. Number two, it may not be easy always. I know as black people, we've got a challenge of this black tax, where maybe it can happen sometimes that in your family, you are the first one to get a breakthrough of getting a good employment, and maybe you now have to look after your parents, and maybe you have to renovate the home or look after siblings. Yes, there's actually also a good investment, because you get much from giving. It's a principle, biblical principle as well. But what I would advise, and I'm saying this because it's one of Sam Nzima's values. He believed in entrepreneurship and raising business people. It's the first thing he did when he lost his job as a photojournalist, which we'll go to that later, when he thought, I need to have an income through business. So where I'm going to with this is that let's also try as a young people to find means of saving and with that money, try get other means of generating an income, because salary alone, it won't be enough. It's just there to help you pay the bills. But if you want a proper lifestyle, which is manageable, and you want to access most things that you want, do things on the side, whether you're saving money to start with a small business of selling clothes, buying something small. At the end of the day, it will grow. So we need to be a black society whereby we need to think business-wise. We may not all be cut to be full-time business people, but see yourself as one by trying means of having a business on the side, what they call it a side hustle. It helps a lot. It's what makes people to go far with the lifestyle. Yes, so if we can think in terms of that, if we can change our perception of money to being for just pleasure, but having money as something that will bring you another income, a side business or a good investment. We should start doing that, and it's good if we educate ourselves with financial planning as time goes on. Yes.
Yes. I'll just add on what you're saying. It's important for youth, to be disciplined. If you look at the life of Sam, when we mentioned the story, his first serious job, he worked at Chelsea Hotel. But when he was in Chelsea, he had a camera that he bought and freelance. So he is an entrepreneur. He thought, let me just add on my salary so that I can go somewhere in my life. So you shouldn't wait for opportunities, to present themselves. There's no big money coming from nowhere. You really need to work for your money. You really need to plan for your money. As my sister, everything that you have put it's right. They always think they need to have a chunk of money, then that they start saving. Saving is starting from 1 cent. That 1 cent is the one that costs them, come with millions. Every man starts from 1 cent. So if they know how to discipline themselves, and with us, black people, we've got this thing of we're not used, or we don't want to go and work for nothing and not to get enough. When I'm saying for nothing, very few young ladies or young boy would say, I would love to go and be a domestic worker. And for that domestic work, I can get 3,000 rand, which I can pay for my tuition. If my parents can't be doing that and they can't afford. We always want to look at my roommate or to look at Mama or somebody else. They have to do things for you. We pity ourselves. But if you look at these white boys, every time we always compare ourselves with white people who are doing whatever. Yes, they've got fathers who've got everything. Yes, they do have fathers, they've got companies. But at the end of the day, they're taught very early to go and start working. And others, they work for, having 2 jobs in a week. But for us black people, we don't. And our excuse will say it's because we are far from development. No, it's not about us that we have to go and have work at Mkuhlo or have in Easy or Nespresso. From here at rural areas, just go to somebody else who's got a garden. Can I please help you, to clean up your garden or whatever? Even if they give you 150, it's a lot because you don't have it sitting at home. So our, Sam, which our dad, believed in that of entrepreneur. One or another, even ourselves, we do have those little things or side hustles on the side that we're trying to work on it because it's something else that he instilled in us. He believed in that as well.
That's so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. And that's why I love to always say to people, more especially to those who are entrepreneurs, to say that you don't have to sell one product with 1 million or 1,000 of friends, but what you have to do is to consistently sell that product million. It will work for them, including myself. I believe that from the story that they are telling us what happened, Nzima, I believe that I won't die being poor myself standing here. And hopefully one of the good days I will come and not there with my Mercedes-Benz parking there to come and testify on based on the information that they have shared unto us. It's running our thoughts into thinking that everything is possible. You start from zero to become a hero. You don't start on top. Because in most cases when you want to start on top, the high chances are you can fall down. So thank you so much for what you are sharing. I think the second thing that I want to ask, because you said that he was born here at Nzima and he took a train. No, it's a very inspirational story when I'm hearing it. So he changed the location, and him changing the location, he became impactful in another location where he was not born from. So what is it that we can advise to people? You find a person, it's a man like 20 years, there's no any changes, his life is not transformed. It's a man let's say career, and that's why some they end up hanging themselves or commit a society because of the environment. So if we change that environment going to another place based on the story of Nzima, what is it that we can advise to youth? Because it happened for your success is not based on the place where you are born. So what is it that you can explain in detail to motivate a man based on the environment?
I would say that it's good to grow the courage to get out of your familiar environment, where you're born and so forth. I'll give it a bit of biblical context. When God told Abraham to leave his father's land, he wouldn't have succeeded had he remained and not by faith follow what God is saying to him, you see. And that still applies even today. It can happen that where God has called you to make an impact, it's not the area where you were born, where your relatives, your parents and everyone. It's good to have that courage and go try and see other places. You may find opportunities and activities that were not there. And you learn from there. Or you do even things that are even more extraordinary. So grow that courage. And also it's good to know your calling or your purpose. Even fortunate Nzima, to actually know that that's near age of 10 years.
It was something that is so rare from
his community.
For photography.
Yes, I take a photo. Just for memory, but you never think it can change the political landscape that you go one day, or even bring forth freedom in a place.
Yes, just with
the lens of a camera. The photos are just there for us to look beautiful and capture the memory, but in this instance, it took a message of what was happening in a country that was hidden from the whole world, and it exposed it, which brought freedom to this place. So by saying that, I'm trying to say that it's good to overlake a journey. What do you actually like? What are you purposeful? How do you find out who are you? But maybe it's not working out here. In other places, around you. Try, maybe they don't have someone who's as good as you. For some reason. Or whatever skill, whatever the case is. So it's good to be number one, we all have God-given talents, which we have to account for. God doesn't need anyone and not embedded a gift on them. So I manipulate, and let's not be scared to explore. No, just can be the other way around. Just in your back house. Maybe carpentry with the furniture, maybe to be kundi basapotana sebatiwa amalakaya ukuvuya elakaya unathatha abanayenana usuna kuma support likulu but basikabuya abana straight move. It's just one of those examples. Yes.
And then John, I would it's even to work for yourself.
Yes.
And I would love to speak to this angle now. We have got a lot of land. Makanya shoraba ingat ilang sama fugo yaba kebul yaba makwahelo. And you forget that we eat that food ourselves. And that's where we need it to be, mostly when we're younger. To have a healthy, good life. Sorry. We do have elderly people, I'm denying. lava they're not doing very well. You do have a brother or sister who's not well. We need to have nutritious food, healthy food. Organic food. At the shop, they're not healthy enough for ourselves. If you look now, most of the countries that are trying to go back now to organic food. So I love to send them a catastrophe. I love to encourage them to do this franchise. I love commercial shop. We always want to have tries and petty horses. It doesn't work like that with the head on behind the desk. It just doesn't work like that. There is a lot of minerals sitting in our soul. We've got the most richest soil in South Africa, and especially even here in Ngakona. So it's so rich. You could see it's and everything, and everyone can do something. I mean, look, spinach, manu fukana kuza shaba spinach, lwatata shaba matamatis, atakota shoshokara, ojiwa kuyetele. Ufukwa na msuku there's something else. So there's always something to do. Problem ina ite magatako, elaka tukuma everything we tie on the nose, nati chef atina kuganisha park and all that. It's not about that only. Yes, but the beauty that we have, there's so much we can. We have got a very rich country which we don't see ourselves. There's so much we can do. I believe in that. Yes. You have said a mouthful. I don't want to compare to what you already said.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you guys. So we heard from the daughters of Tatala Nzima, and one thing that they mentioned and what took my attention, also me adding on that, it is that let's take, guys, you are working, maybe you are CEO in whatever department that you are working under. The day you will pass on, like, are you aware that you are not going to pass that CEO to your child? But being an entrepreneur, like, it tends to be like a legacy, or you'll be transferring the great genetic wealth to your children. That is why today we are sitting here, Naba Nzima, in this beautiful house. It is because their father have worked hard while you are still able to work. So always think abroad of the money that you are having. He used his money or his first salary to buy a photographer. That is why today we know the full history of what happened in 16 June. So thank you so much for what you are sharing. The next question that I want to ask you is that do you feel like your father is celebrated enough in the country based on what you have done in the 16th June?
Alright. I would say that the recognition of his work is not at the level where it should be, that he had deserved. And why am I saying this? It was a very risky assignment that he did by going to that march, the protest of students in Soweto, in the thick of those bullets, going to risk his life and taking the picture. And those apartheid policemen did see him in action, but he had to try means to hide that film. If they found him with it, they would expose it, and the next time they would shoot him, even on that day. Sometimes you don't have to wait for the next time. So first of all, I don't think it's much appreciated that he risked his life. And how do you see that it wasn't much appreciated or celebrated at the level that it should be? It's because for most of the years, many years, the photograph was published everywhere on all media platforms, mainstream media, and nothing much was said about the photographer, the man behind the picture. It's as if that picture just took itself, or it felt out like manna from heaven. It's not many people that have had the curiosity of wanting to find out, but who actually took this picture? What happened? Why didn't he save this boy? What was the story behind? And so the photograph went all over the world, and people did not know the man behind it, Nzima. It's up until he obtained a copyright. It was around about perhaps it was 1998, that's when he obtained that copyright when Bill Clinton came, and Hillary Clinton as well, his wife, came all the way to South Africa to hand him over that copyright. And it was already a bit too late, should we say so. The picture did not have that much value like how it was used between 1976 and to date, or even in the early 90s, just after the dawn of democracy. So we wish he could have been recognized, spoken to, it could have been done in parallel to say this is the Hector of the picture of Hector Pieterson that was taken during the Soweto uprising, the protest of students. This is the man behind the scene. His name is Nzima. And thereafter, perhaps to make up for it, maybe more recognition could have been given by the government in terms of maybe more awards, or just even having his legacy through naming him with celebrating a certain way. Yes, or his name being honored in a certain way that it won't be forgotten. The naming of perhaps buildings, for example, and so forth, so that the street, so that it's not forgotten. Yes, for him especially, it wasn't about the money. People look at it in a sense of, you must have made so much money from this, and you'd say, no, actually many media houses made money from this picture, where I wasn't recognized and I couldn't generate any income or even royalties. He wasn't looking at necessarily making an income. For him, he was on call, and he wanted to do the right thing of exposing the truth about the brutality of apartheid to these young children. That's what it was about. And I think even till his death, it wasn't about the government didn't give me money. It wasn't about money like some think. It's just that recognition. And to be honored, to say I risked my life on this day. I'm honored in a way that I won't be forgotten ever again. My name will be upheld for generations and generations to come for this work. That's what it meant for him. He had wanted that more than anything. He eventually got awarded with the Kamala, but over the years, so much more could have been done in his honor. Yes.
No, I think she said a lot about this. No need for me to add on that. That's exactly what she said. Yeah.
No, thank you so much for sharing that and being open. But we saw a video trending recently of our President Cyril Ramaphosa sending condolences to the family. So I'm not sure if you are familiar with the video, and if you are familiar, what did you feel when you saw that video?
Is it, when is the video from? Is it the Nzima family that is sending condolences to?
Yes.
Okay. I think we last saw the video, it was during his passing.
Oh, you mean on the passing?
I'm not sure when was the video taken, or when did they release the video, but I saw it recently.
Okay, the video that we know of when Cyril Ramaphosa said something, it's when during the passing of our dad, immediately when it was announced, he came to the TV and he says he knows Nzima. And for the fact that they used to live together in the same township in Soweto, where in Shawela to be specific, where Ramaphosa was as well at that time, I believe, because he says he's a homeboy from the same township. It's that one that we know of, and he said in mouthful that he is quite happy to be called one of his own, and he knows him from Soweto. So otherwise, we're not aware of any video that could be here. I mean, he sent, or recorded recently. He said that he was exploring those ways of condolences and being proud of the work that he has done, that he was still going to carry it at that time, and hence that's why they gave him that kind of a funeral. That was level 2, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why they granted him the state funeral for level 2. So those are the things that we know, which the deputy president as well was here. He did him up as sent by President Ramaphosa as well. He wished to be here as well, himself, Ramaphosa, but David Mabuza at that time is a deputy president. He was the closest person to our dad, since when he was a former premier of Mpumalanga at that time. Yes.
Thank you so much for that clarity. But yeah, surely it is the all things.
As the South African government, we were truly saddened to hear about the passing of Mr. Nzima.
2018. Yeah, that was in 2018. It's not a recent one.
Okay, no, thank you so much. So what does 16 June mean to you or to the family? How do you celebrate this day? What is it that you do, especially in remembering your father?
Okay. The 16th of June started from when we were growing up, because for us it did not start now after the passing of Sam Nzima. Growing up, we know that it's a day where a dad would be called around the country, and sometimes it even went as far as overseas in Germany, in the US. Mostly what he used to do, he'd be getting invitations to go give lectures of what happened on the 16th of June 1976. He would also take some of the pictures that he took, just to let the viewers and listeners know, it's the pictures that he took on the day. It's more than just the picture of the Hector Pieterson. It just that it became the most famous. There's many more pictures that are being shown by mainstream media that he took on that day of boys defending themselves, those students with the dustbin lids that you. Yes, and then throwing stones at the police. He took pictures of the policemen actually shooting in action.
And the students
when they were marching in big groups. Yes. So there's many more that he took to show how much he risked his life. It's just that the Hector Pieterson is the one that touched the world. Okay. So he take those pictures and also go and do exhibitions where he's requested to all over the country and even overseas, as I was saying. Sometimes we'd have journalists coming to our home in the month of June. Journalists from all over the world, even the Time magazine. It's been noted as one of the top 100 pictures of the century by Time magazine. So they'd come and do interviews. We grew up where every June would have journalists Dad would be busy. It's journalists flocking in, many interviewers flocking in to come do interviews of himself. So that's the upbringing that we had around him, and that's the life that he lived around about June. So up until his passing, so we then began with family commemorations. We would also, after his passing, we would also involve a government here and there. Also, there is lectures, memorial lectures that are being held about Sam Nzima to try and uphold the legacy. And we're working on bringing on many other activities that are going to preserve his legacy around about that time in June, so that his work is not forgotten. Yes.
So what it means to us, we honestly be happy with what our dad did in our country. To expose the brutality that was there for the black people to the previous regimes, especially that the students, they really fought. They still need to understand. They didn't just not an ordinary strike, that there was no water, there's no tar road. At that time, students were very serious that they wanted their education, and they didn't want to have their education to become in the Afrikaans expression. They wanted to be English. So this is what they were fighting for. So it's important for us, to understand that angle, because you could assume many people, they know about the picture, others they don't really know the truth. They know the picture, but others they don't know exactly why the picture is there. So they need to know that students, they were marching for their own rights, that at that time they were forcing every student to be taught in Afrikaans. Imagine you do mathematics in Afrikaans, you do biology in Afrikaans. So this is what are the things that we're fighting for, that they want to be taught in English. Yes, this is very, very important. So it means so much to us as a family because he contributed, to the struggle of the country and, to expose exactly what is happening to the black people in the country. Unfortunately, that picture, when they were killing that child, I think in a way, if you look at it, God, it was a time where he wanted to expose this brutality that was here in South Africa. And at that time, God chose Sam, to speak about this brutality behind the camera. And it was a very funny thing that you wouldn't thought of it, that the camera can speak so much volume across the whole nations and land and wherever. We never thought of it. But some have done it through the lens of a camera. Today, people, they understand South Africans the way we struggle. Never mind the part that Trump today is speaking about us, the other way around that we don't want white people, we are killing them or beating them. And no, unfortunately, it turned to another angle. But if Trump really knows his work, you are supposed to go back to the White House and see that picture, because that picture is there. It speaks volumes. I don't understand where they've made a mistake. Thank you.
No, thanks so much for.
You can continue. Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you so much for what you have shared. I believe even people who are out there now, or they don't know deep on what was happening, what was going on, as you're saying that many people, they just see the picture and suddenly take you, but they don't know the story behind. But we stand boldly today and say this to the whole world, that we are proud about what Tatana Nzima, what he have done. So we shouldn't be having freedom if that history or if that moment it was not recorded. And if there was no man who was brave enough like him, as you're saying, that he was sent by God at that time. So we thank God that also have sent a man, and we thank him and the family. That let me also say that we also thank mommy, his wife, because they said that every the story of a man when he success, there's a wife behind that. So we thank Mama, and as we are going to conclude, not in a while, we'll just love that Mama, she can come into the camera just to say some few words. It can be sort of like motivating youth, and everything like that. So yeah, we can just love that Mama, she comes in and join you just to share songs and then as we are going to close this podcast. Yeah, Mama, you can come.
I think I can come next time.
Let's close for now.
I think it's another topic of another day to I would say to have something called the woman behind Sam.
Okay.
That would be powerful to speak about the woman as a continuation of part 2. Because honestly speaking, people, they speak about Sam, but after that, when he was been having a name on his bullet, they don't know what happened in that life. Why Sam he left job and then ran back home. He didn't leave the job, or he didn't go on retirement, or he was fired either. He ran away to save his life. So this is one of the things probably we need to speak about it. Who is this woman behind the scene? So that idea. Yes. Who is this woman behind the scene? What happened actually? His life from Johannesburg all the way to come here to Bushbuckridge. That we don't know, because we only speak about Sam up to where we finish with June16 and his picture. But this man was a human being. And there was something else there. And for the fact that the white people didn't want this picture to be known, and they tried so much to destroy the picture, and the picture couldn't be destroyed. Unfortunately, it was already out there. I think this is one thing that is important.
So it can be an episode on its own.
It can be an episode like yeah.
Should be ready and made
Should be pulled and
polished for the camera.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think so. Yeah, we can, before maybe we conclude, because it can happen when you take it long, the cameras, they get off and something like that. Yeah, so but before we conclude, it can happen that there's something that I didn't ask and you are feeling to share behind maybe the legacy that Mr. Nzima left behind, or any empowering words to the youth. This is the time where you can share before we conclude.
Okay. Okay, I think what the youth needs to know as well, Steve, about Nzima, they may know him as the man that took that iconic photograph around the world, you know. But coming back to his community, it's not much known that he was actually a community builder.
Yes.
So I want the youth to take that lesson. That Nzima, for all his life, he was passionate about this community. He did say development like, for example, in Lily Day, he was the pioneer of that. It was his efforts when he gets reconnected. Even the making sure that we've got good water running. Okay. Yes, even the bringing in of running water, it's been a struggle for many years. He tried to make sure that our households, our community do have access to water. It's a struggle in our villages here. Yes, even the bringing in of the tarred road, he made efforts in that, and he tried to speak to local government to bring it in. At some point, he was our councillor, and government would have given him better opportunities, but he preferred doing groundwork in development, from that level of being a councillor to say, I don't need that money, but I just want to see to serve my people, to develop this place. He brought the donations for the first preschool that we had at the time, and it was named after him, the Nzima preschool that we now have as Ezweni Daycare. It's because he wanted to develop the community, seeing that there is no sufficient preschools. We only have got primary and high schools. How about the kids? Because the young children need that foundation from a very young age. And he wanted it to be an English medium because he thought they need a better exposure for when they go to higher grades in schools. Even the forming or the starting the building of Flomani, he also contributed in that. He seeks donations from the SAP. Yes, it's all because he's not someone that thought, I've gained my fame from that picture, it's enough. Therefore, I'm just going to sit back and not make myself part of the community. He had this calling when he also had to develop the community. He did not just run a business alone, but he really wanted to see this place grow, and he had passion for education that he didn't have the opportunity to get. So what I'm trying to say is that young people also must not just leave their development at just being at the level of them growing their professional careers or their businesses. They must look at the community. We need to develop it for the generations that are coming after us. So they must just take the lead from Nzima as well. It's not about that picture that made him famous and celebrated. No, he rolled his sleeves, he contributed for his community. Yes. So they must just take that from him as well. Try to develop the community and serve people where you are.
Yes, it's true. He used to believe in that a lot. That we can build our own town. Because Johannesburg didn't just start to the way it is. It was just like a place that's just open, and someone started to draw up the infrastructure, and it becomes a town. And he believed that Nyamayenge could be one of these towns, or in the church, he will say Lilidale. He believed this place, it can turn to town. So he always says, when you go, he was an advocate in terms of when you go to town, like you go in Johannesburg, always remember home. Always think of coming to develop at home. You will encourage young boys from Johannesburg, come and invest back to your schools where it used to be before. Grow your economy, your community, actually. Don't forget about where you're coming from. So, to show that they truly wanted development. There was a time, there were very few, but the biggest was one of those ones was So he used to, in winter time, he used to feel so bad with his students that were working from as far as Mabaruli. That time they didn't have Mabaruli. As far as Mabaruli, they work all the way, they pass Mabaruli, past Justice, Justice students, they're working to Bonzweni to get an education, because it was the only high school we had around. We didn't have any high school. And he took it upon himself and sit in Amadus, cold as it was, count all of these students and get to the bus and try to get to the government to say, hey man, come and help our children. It was so big in terms of development and growth. And another biggest part that they've really played with his wife, all those things he did it because he had a wife who was there supporting him. At the same time, my dad, with my mom, they had so much of people from Mozambique. And they were coming running to South Africa. I was to Africa and knock to every house and ask for accommodation. But my dad, and food and water to drink, and they come here, they've got torn clothes, their feet, they're swollen, and they've got cut toes, and they are missing limbs, some of them because of lions catching them. And it was horrible. Others, they lost children, along the way. Dad took it upon himself and his wife with their own money. That's another thing that my sister's trying to express it. Sammy was nothing to do about money. Yes, we needed money for this and that. The little that he could get, he made it that he shared with everybody else. That is why you saw Sam, he died being pure. He never cared that he needed to get everything for his family, but he cared deeply about his family. He made sure when he was in his business, he built a big storeroom whereby he went, after he finished it, he went to Red Cross. We went to Palalana, yes, on those days, and asked for donations for people from Mozambique. And he opened his house, his place, that when people come from Mozambique, he received them. He had a register as well, with the help of my mom. Mom should sit there from morning until sunset to make sure that they receive people from Mozambique. And not that they didn't have anything. And they would make sure they give them food passes and do everything. This woman, she never rested working with these people from Mozambique. So it's not only that, there's a lot of things that they were like involved in, education, as my sister saying, electricity, roads, and as far as even game reserve that are around here, don't go and talk to them. Please, if you take our children, this is what you're supposed to do and stuff like that. And people, they don't know about these things. And when they look at him and having that little business that was not doing that much, just for him to get what he could for his family, their thought is having everything. And then because of his famous, because of this picture, their thought is same is having everything. If you look at this house we're sitting at today, Sam, he could not even afford one bedroom of this house to build it himself. But we want to say thank you to Gigi Mabuza. We've seen it upon himself that he need to do something for Sam after what he's done. You know, to ask for donations. Yes, with the Mpumalanga government, at that time was when he was a premier, and built this house. And people went out looking out there, they think Sam, you've got everything else. He didn't. Even the funeral that he had, it had nothing to do about Sam. It's as good as, if you want to look at Sam, more or less, he was going to have so-called a pauper's funeral in Kwe. There was not much. The little that we had as children, that is what we were going to do to bury, was going to combine and bury our dead. So this is very important, people, they must understand. We'd love to send that message out there, that it's not about money. Passion will still come to them. Passion goes a long way. And the love of our community, if we truly love our community, we would have been sitting in the crime that we're having today, because we don't know what's happening. You can't even go to your gate nowadays without being attacked. You can't even go to the shop or go anywhere without being attacked. If our children will truly respect themselves, respect the elderly, and respect where they're coming from, from those dusty streets, I'd love to use that word. Those dusty streets that is poor, we can build a better society and a better life. This is what my dad said would love to see from his village and from all the youth of this place. Because this place actually, or our village, it can only grow and do well if the youth that are focused and they love the place and they are proud of it. And they can turn this Guinyamayende to a town. It's possible. Nothing that is impossible.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. It's really profound, I can say. And I can say most of us, or even people out there, surely they are living with the wrong information, getting to maybe see what we can see now, but we don't know the story behind or the scars behind, the suffering behind. It's really amazing. It's an incredible milestone that Nzima have done. We're not even aware the coming in of the electricity, the water crisis, where you came in. I was even asking myself, we have Nzima Primary School. I didn't know yet the name Nzima, okay? Like, I want to let it through my thoughts, but I didn't know that he have made contribution and impact to that school. I was not aware.
And another thing, the Rulani, it came because of him.
Okay.
At that time when people from Mozambique, when they come in, we speak to the government, the government fought to say they can't open places for people, but as some in South Africa. He fought with the government, they can look at these places, their camps. It's like South African will go into exiles and they have their camps. So he through the help of, I remember there was another pastor called Mashwangani, who was helping with him as well to fight this system with the help of Parolani as well. And it's not only that, from that time it rolled out to every village, most of the villages, where they will ask the chief, to give them a portion whereby they will start, helping those people from Mozambique to get places to stay. So even us, sitting here, we will forget exactly what is on. But it's a lot of things that Sam was involved in terms of helping, especially for his community as well. Yes.
So, but is the next generation that is going to come after you, especially Nzima's family, are they going to know all of this information and the incredible impact that Nzima has made?
Oh, definitely, I would say that, because what's happening, we share this information amongst our children, and they hear the videos, we hear us when we're sitting, we talk a lot. We don't have this thing of being afraid to talk about the people who've passed on in our families. We speak about them as if they are alive. We don't kill them. We keep the spirit alive in them. We don't worship them, they're not our gods, but our children, they need to know the truth. They had a grandfather who was like this, a great-grandfather was like this. We share a lot. Even it's a pity you just missed my brother, just left there. We do have the last Nzulana in the family. She knows a lot about the grandfather. And we pass as much information as we can. We don't try to keep this thing under wraps, and we don't speak about grandfather that passed on. No, it's open. Speak about him. Don't say the late so and so. And things like that. Yes.
That's very great, because we want to hear this even into the next upcoming generations. Like, we don't want it to end here with us. Even our children's, we want them to know about the impact that the dance might have made. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much to have opened the gates for us and to have opened your heart to share what the dance might have done. So yeah, it's very impactful. He was a brave man. He was a man of vision. A man we had passion, like, because I so I believe and I wish God can still rise moments like him, show like this country, show our communities they can develop to be even better than how we are today. So thank you so much for your time. We'll be coming to the end of our podcast talk show. Thank you so much our followers for watching. Surely you will join us in our next podcast. Thank you.